Alright, so this little impromptu video is for Blythe Productions. The question at hand is putting a 25 centimeter Obitsu on a Type 4 pull-up head. I can see clearly this is definitely a bit of a difficult situation. I've popped a couple of my girls apart to take a look at the issue. All of my pull-up heads are on 27 centimeter bodies, because the fact that the pull-up head was wider than the doll head by comparison, it always just didn't quite look right on the short bodies to me. So I never tried putting a 25 centimeter on a pull-up head. It can be done though. It's just a little more of a difficult task, because as you've already noticed, the bottom screw of the iMac comes pretty close to the base of the head. Now the 25 centimeter that I have here, that I pulled off of my doll head here, shows what I had done for her is I had actually trimmed this part of the neck peg down a little bit. Pardon my throat clearing there. That basically allowed me to lower her piece of the neck peg, which I didn't modify at all. If I can just snap that on there with one hand, let's see. There we go. That way that had a tighter fit, which worked fine on the doll head. Obviously on here it comes into an issue where it once again runs into it the same way you have. My first thought I was taking a look at, I took one of these and cut it in half much the same way you guys already have, coupled with the way that was, and it brings it down a little lower. But then in order to keep it from coming off, you need to take the screw and you need to put a washer. Unfortunately, I don't have a good example because right now I'm out of the correct size washer, and this one is too big. The screw would simply fall through it. But you would put a small washer on it, and that would allow it to hold down. This idea with the washer, I think you're still going to have to do, because from what it looks like, what you're going to end up having to do here is that piece of the neck peg has probably got to come down even more because it is so close to the screw there. So it is certainly possible to do it, but you're pretty much going to have to trim this peg nearly all the way down, and you may have to take about a quarter of the screw off. I wouldn't go as far as half, but maybe just like the first couple threads, just to make this screw about 3/4 the size of what it currently is as far as the length is concerned. Because otherwise, I mean, the screw is only going to go down so far before, you know, there's no threads cut for it, and you're kind of getting into the area where the plastic joint is that it moves on. Fortunately, I can't quite trim her peg down that far to put it on the pull-up head as an example, because, well, for one, I unfortunately don't have a washer at the moment, and for two, that might be adverse effects for me for putting it back onto the doll head later, whereas right now it fits good, so I don't want to take the chance. But as you can see, like I said in the message, I've already trimmed that neck peg down probably about half its length is what it originally was. And that definitely changes things, because the thing I mainly do for like the dolls, you can see the hole carved out for the neck is quite a bit smaller, very similar to Type 1s. And like I've shown in the videos, I tend to make some flat spots in there too, but then it actually sits down, the head sits down further on the neck peg. But this camera does not do good close up. Sits down further on the neck peg than it normally would. Normally it would sit up a bit more. But that's worked out well for me. Yeah, I mean, I guess my best advice is, I mean, you could certainly do this if you'd want, but I guess I can't help but say that on Type 4 heads, it just seems to be more advisable to stick with a 27 centimeter body. I mean, the reason being is just because the neck peg's attached to the body differently. This one has a screw that goes down from the top like that to hold this the little neck collar piece in place, whereas the 27 centimeters, I'll use this design where the eyelet screws into this, and I just lopped a whole ton of this off so that there's only just a little bit of it left, and then it kind of resembles the stock peg, because it was one of these to begin with, and I just chopped most of it off. Right there is one of the eyelets. But I'd certainly say it's definitely possible if you do want to continue with the idea of putting the 25 centimeter body on the Type 4 head. The only other thing I would mention to note right off the bat too is the fact that because it's made for a larger body, you might have a bit of a gap around the head and the neck when it's all said and done and close together. I just figured I'd make that a mention because you might not notice it right away because, I mean, the neck is thicker on the 27 than it is on the 25. So that might make a bit of a difference as far as the way it looks, too. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I hope that somehow explains it a little bit. That, like I said, I think you're pretty much going to have to trim that neck peg all the way down. And possibly even with a tiny, tiny drill bit, make the hole a little deeper. But then, you probably won't even use the plastic piece at all anymore. You'll probably just use a tiny, tiny washer, the original screw, and just bolt it right down on there, but it'll pretty much, this little smaller part of the shoulder, the neck peg will pretty much be gone. So then you just have that on there. And that then would allow it to sit in there pretty nicely. And if you have it sit up too high, it's going to be wobbly. So I think you pretty much, tell you, I wish I had 3 hands and I broke my tripod. Yeah, you'd pretty much want to do that, otherwise it would just be too wobbly. It's got to sit that far on it, because if it doesn't, it's going to be way too wobbly, because there's way too much space in there. I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, you could try putting a washer on it with the neck peg the way it is, or maybe cut the neck peg about halfway down and put a bunch of little hair binders on there to take up that gap. But still, I don't know, I think it might just not have, it might not have enough rigidity, and then your head will become kind of wobbly like that. So I don't think that that's going to do well. Yeah, in all honesty, you can do it, and it really won't be that hard. But to be completely honest, my best advice is with a Type 4 head especially, just to pretty much stick with a 27 centimeter body, just because on the Type 4 head that IMAX sits so much lower than the Type 1s, 2s, and 3s. Putting an Obitsu body on a Type 1 head is a different thing all to itself, because the best way to put a body on a Type 1 head is you actually have to carve a little out of the head, as odd as that is. So yeah, that's a tough one. So I know, either way, I certainly hope this helps. Earlier tonight I picked up a few Live Doll bikinis. They finally went on clearance at Walmart. I've been watching them all winter, thinking, when are they going to mark these things down? It's not summer anymore. They finally marked them down to about $7 a piece, and they actually fit and look pretty cute. Most Barbie bikinis, they don't fit that nice, and they look kind of funny. So just figured I'd make mention of that to anybody who hadn't already noticed, because, like I said, right now they're on clearance for like, what, $7 a pop? Yeah. I'm not sure about this green one. It's looking pretty huge in the bottom end. That was my problem with Barbie bikinis, is they always make them look like they're wearing diapers or something. But they fit surprisingly well, regardless of the bust size. I guess even though the Live Dolls don't have much for a bust to begin with, they overall have a larger measurement around that part of their torso. But I just figured I'd make a side note of that as just kind of a little extra tidbit. Yeah, I guess I hope this helps. I mean, certainly let me know if you have any other questions. I'd love to help you. Try to figure it out any way I can. You know, that's the best I can do. I mean, it only takes me a minute to pop a couple of my girls apart, and I'm more than willing to do it to try to help out. And I've got, you know, the one in the blue hair is a Type 1. Do I have any Type 2s? I'm trying to think. You know, I think I might only have Type 1, Type 3, and Type 4. Now my wife's got a Type 2. Well, like the one in the silver hair there belongs to a friend of mine. I know that's a Type 2. They nearly seem to be about the same as the Type 3. The Type 4 was where they made this major change in the iMac, and they made it so that there was no longer a scalp. It was just a two-piece half like the doll head. So, yeah. But either way, any questions, I will always be happy to do my best to try to help and answer. After it only takes a minute to make a little video like this to try and help out. So, well, good luck. That's really the best I can say.